good evening. Welcome to our information session about the Safe Haven Coaching Certification Program that the Medical Society of Virginia is launching in collaboration with Georgetown University. I'm Carolyn McCrae. I'm Senior Program Director for the Medical Society of Virginia. I know several of you who are on the call and just appreciate you taking the time to join us this evening. A couple of housekeeping items. We are recording this session. You will be able to revisit this recording as you complete your application, or if you're looking to encourage others to apply for the certification program, they will be able to access this recording. This is a webinar format, so we ask that if you have questions, or comments or concerns or anything like that, that you use the Q&A feature to submit those. So it'll just be the hosts here from the Medical Society and Georgetown that you'll be able to see on the screen. So any questions, submit that through that Q&A feature that you'll see at the bottom of your Zoom window. And we're just so pleased to have you all join us. So a couple of things that the Medical Society wanted to share is that we are looking at creating this coaching certification program to address the growing demand with our Safe Haven resources. As we continue to expand those resources throughout the Commonwealth of Virginia and throughout the country, we know and we have seen an uptick in hospitals and healthcare systems and individuals and practices who have been coming to us and asking for these additional resources. And we're so pleased to see you interested in giving back to the medical profession by becoming a Safe Haven coach within that program. So thank you for all that you do to advance and foster well-being for the healthcare community and all healthcare professionals within our community. We have created this program with Georgetown University, and you'll be hearing from Petra Platzer, who is the lead for that program and also serves as the lead faculty for the certification program. You'll be hearing from Dustin Beekman with the Medical Society of Virginia about how we decided to partner with Georgetown University specifically to offer this resource. But this is looking to expand upon the coaching that we currently offer and the counseling that we currently offer as part of that Safe Haven resource pool, and build that to make sure that any physician, any healthcare professional who is coming to Safe Haven and looking for support is able to find those resources in a peer-to-peer environment and able to speak with someone who has been there, has been professionally trained, and knows exactly what it is that they're going through and can speak to that from this sense of health and well-being coaching. I already see that some questions are coming in, and so I'm so pleased that you are using that function. Please continue to use that. We'll be monitoring throughout, and we'll make sure to leave plenty of time for questions at the end there. But I'm going to turn it over to Dustin to speak to the partnership with Georgetown specifically, and then Petra will dive into the logistics and the details of the certification program itself.
Great. Thanks, Carolyn. So again, my name is Dustin Beekman. I'm the Associate Vice President of Business Development for the Medical Society of Virginia, and partnered with Carolyn on this journey to try to build this great Safe Haven coaching network. So first, kind of why did we choose Georgetown University? Well, once we made the decision to move forward with developing our own Safe Haven coaching program, we then kind of turned to do a national search. It was important that we're going to do our best to find the best program to partner with. And so, we did find out of the gate, we found several really great programs. And then, we developed a very thorough vetting process. And really, when we went through all the elements of that process, in the end, the Georgetown Health and Wellness Program really stood out. And they stood out in a couple ways. One is that they have many years of experience producing top-notch coaching programs. And so they have a pretty significant history of doing that. And, really for us, the other important piece to that is we wanted to make sure that it really prepared the students that were interested in getting the ICF, which is the International Coaching Federation exam. It gets them prepared And so the Georgetown program does a great job of getting the students that go through that program prepared for that exam. And so, or if they choose not to go through the ICF exam, it gets them ready to go right into the coaching if they so choose. Also it was important that they had, for us especially, it was important that they had prior experience working with physicians. And they had vast experience working with many physicians that went through the different cohorts that they had. And not just physicians, but other healthcare professions too, to get them ready to be great coaches, especially as it pertains to the SafeHaven coaching program, that it gets them ready to be great coaches for their peers. And really, finally, there's many other reasons, but I would say finally, it certainly doesn't hurt that the Georgetown University name and brand carries with it a rich history and tradition of excellence that we all know will carry on with our SafeHaven coaching program. So we're extremely excited. Petra Platzer, who I'm going to introduce in a minute, but she's been a great partner through this process for us, and very collaborative and very eager and interested in working with us to create a custom program for you all. So again, we're very, very excited. So without further ado, I want to introduce you to tonight's presenter and the program lead for the Georgetown Health and Wellness Program, Petra Platzer. I'm first going to do a short bio. She didn't want me to do that, but I feel it's important because it's very impressive. So I want to give a little background on her. I know she may color in some lines after that, but Petra is a coach and consultant with experience in both internal and external engagements for seasoned and new execs. She's done a lot of work with physicians, as well as senior and mid-level managers across healthcare, academic, business, and not-for-profit. It's important to know that she is a graduate of the Georgetown University Leadership Coaching Program and a credentialed member of the ICF. So she knows what it takes to the rigors that it takes for someone to be prepared for that exam. She holds a PhD in molecular biology and genetics from Kent State, and more importantly, a BS from Virginia Tech. Go Hokies. She is a co-inventor on a patent, has multiple publications, and received numerous awards acknowledging her technical and engaging leadership skills. One side note, Petra is also one of the faculty for another one of our foundation programs called SYNC, where she taught the leadership portion of the curriculum and did an excellent job for us there. So I'm very pleased to turn it over to Petra and for her to dive into a little bit more detail about the elements of the SafeHaven coaching program.
Well, thank you, Dustin and Carolyn. And although I cannot see those of you who are here, it's a pleasure. And I'm really happy to see you already have questions. This is an exciting launch. And as Dustin and Carolyn mentioned, coming together with what SafeHaven is doing, I want to start with saying how passionate I am about this mission and the collaboration, because it brings together multiple interests within my own professional journey and portfolio, some of which you just heard. As Dustin said, I'll color in the lines just a bit so you understand a little bit more about what's driving me and why I'm so passionate about this program and you in coming in. Because from my early days, I've had huge curiosity to understand how our systems work and how to proactively leverage that understanding to create optimal results. So with that mindset, my first career was actually as a cancer researcher. And I looked at how the internal signaling in our cells created healthy and unhealthy states for that organ. So as I led teams of incredibly smart scientists and clinicians in our healthcare system, which was the Cleveland Clinic, I could also see how the health of the team, its ability to function well or not, directly impacted the well-being of the team and the organization, which in turn impacted the health and wellness of the people themselves. So that insight led me to shift my career path from being a scientist and healthcare leader to becoming a leadership and health and wellness coach within healthcare. And so what you are having access to here wasn't available to me over a decade ago. So that's part of why I'm so passionate about what we are forming here and what you're coming in to do. So for me, my day-to-day focus is to partner with people and teams to become more aware of themselves, their internal and external signals, if you will, to support them becoming healthier people and leaders of their lives, their well-being, their organizations, and our communities. So my personal vision is to improve our overall way of being in this world. And my main approaches include leading that coaching and consulting firm that Dustin mentioned, which provides integrated solutions to healthcare leaders and their teams and systems. And I have the distinct pleasure to serve as director for this program, which focuses on developing skilled change agents for the health and well-being of so many. So that's a little bit about me. And let me bring up the slides so that you can actually have content to go along with what I'm going to share with you. All right. So as a bit of an agenda, I'm going to talk about health and wellness coaching overall, and then focus on the Georgetown program, things that you want to know. So I'll begin with that broad lens and our unique focus and the profession, and then talk about how our program is uniquely designed to help its students, such as you hopefully, learn, apply, and become confident and prepared to coach others, while also experiencing self-development in the process. Now, the main purpose of this webinar is to provide you the information you need in order to be able to decide if this is the path you want to pursue. So once my slides are done, I will take them down and we'll really have a lot of time for whatever questions you have. That's the purpose of this. So the health and wellness coaching profession has emerged over the last decade out of a growing need amidst our nation's declining health. As you know all too well, at the illness end of Dr. Travis's illness-wellness continuum, too many of our nation's adults are living with chronic disease. You know these facts more than I can even speak to. The other end of the spectrum, many are proactively wanting to focus on developing better health and wellness or well-being. If we carry that over and translate over to healthcare professionals, more specifically, at one end of the spectrum, we have burnout, we have survival mode. And at the other end of the spectrum, we are looking towards the fourth aim of empowering well-being. So it's fair to conclude that overall, whether looking at the general population or at our healthcare professionals, our health and well-being is declining. The good news is how we manage and improve our own health and well-being is in our hands. This decline can be reversed. We have knowledge and evidence for how to shift this negative trajectory of our health journey. We do know about many healthy lifestyle behaviors. For example, when we go to a healthcare provider, such as yourselves, or a counselor, or anybody who is there to help because of one of those health conditions or challenges that I just named, just about everything that we are told or asked to do involves a behavior, such as decrease stress, exercise more, improve sleep, decrease our alcohol consumption, so on and so forth. These are all behaviors. And even though those that we are going to for help may be giving accurate information and action steps in order to improve that situation, that health, including being very clear of real dire results if something doesn't change, the average adherence, likely I'd love to know what your experience is, but what's reported is the range is huge. It's between 20 to 90%, with the average around 50%. So the same as a flip as a coin. Not surprisingly, this can create a compounding factor for some of the healthcare professionals that we're talking about, who are seeing their patients not improving despite all their efforts for their patients. So the reality is, even though the answer may seem simple and clear, most often the advice means doing something that is different from the old, comfortable, known behaviors. It can be as simple as we are used to crossing our arms this way. And if really as a way for us to improve and feel well, it would be to start practicing and crossing our arms the other way. Feel free to do that on your own. This is very different from what we're used to. So even though people have often some knowledge of what to do differently, they aren't. And despite everyone's best intentions, the reality is none of those approaches are effective for creating behavioral change to manage whatever chronic scenario, whether it's stress, whether it's not understanding what's going on, health conditions, challenges. One of the most fundamental drivers for any behavior change approach to be effective is actually helping people discover for themselves how ready are they for the change. This is a question for any and every change process we encounter. You might be familiar with Prochaska's stages of change model. He and his colleagues in a study of smoking cessation many decades ago identified there are actually several stages of change, as you can see here, beginning with pre-contemplation, as in not even thinking about it, to contemplating, getting ready, preparation, and then action. Let's do this, and then maintenance. Interestingly, most of the advice and suggestions and actions that we hear and give others are at these stages of change. And what you might be interested to know is that in a recent meta-analysis involving thousands of patients and over 48 health behaviors, one of many things the researchers found was that only 20% of people are actually preparing to create that behavior change, meaning that 80% of people need help to start creating a behavior change, either to cultivate their own motivation, their own reasons in the process, and to improve their confidence and self-efficacy. I'm going to repeat that, to improve their confidence and self-efficacy. This is the fundamental work of coaching. Health and wellness coaches are skilled and focused on facilitating behavior change with their clients, whether working with people at any part of the illness-wellness spectrum in all the things that I just mentioned. The approach for health and wellness coaching centers on what you can see here, a client-centered partnership to facilitate and empower the client, the person that you're working with, to achieve self-determined goals related to the results they are looking to achieve around their own health and well-being. Successful coaching takes place when coaches apply clearly defined knowledge and skills so that clients mobilize internal strengths and external resources for sustainable change. In contrast to so this is what coaching is. In contrast, I want to highlight what coaching isn't, because this is really important to be clear about. You can see here. The coaching that I just defined is really developmental coaching. And what it isn't is an expert-led approach. It is also not about diagnosing what is going on and knowing what is wrong with somebody, or determining the problem and giving solutions, giving a plan. That type is consulting. Also, it can be considered more of performance coaching, as in football. It's also not counseling or therapy. While there are some overlapping techniques that can be used, the intention and the focus, there are very different scopes of practice and guidelines, and you will learn more about that as we enter into the program itself. So this type of work, coaching, developmental coaching, takes different kinds of conversations than we are used to having. They are deep conversations of self-reflection, of creating the space for others to really think about why their well-being is important to them. What happens if they continue on their current path? Why do they want to invest in their wellness day in and day out, amidst so many other obligations and challenges? Here you can just see a bit of a distinction in a table to bring this to life about what differences are between being a mentor, being an expert, whether, as I just mentioned, a clinical provider, a trainer, a nutritionist. These are all experts, a consultant like myself, if I have that hat on, when we are mentoring, it's really coming from my experience is, and I know how, and giving advice. And that's mentoring. Expert is around, I am the expert in this domain, and this is what I am going to tell you and advise you. This is what you should do. And so the approach is really around giving direction and information. Coaching sounds much more around providing that client-centered focus and evoking from them, what is it that you are learning? What is it that you are doing? What have you tried? And it's about exploring and experimenting and learning and helping somebody learn new ways of thinking and trying, and this iterative process. Put simply, successful coaching is when the coach puts the power onto the other person to move towards sustainable behavior change. There is a high emphasis on their self-efficacy in the process and how the coach is a partner rather than the leader of the process. So just Dustin mentioned around the credentialing body of the International Coaching Federation. I'm first going to mention to you our other national governing board, which is the National Board for Health and Wellness Coaching, in part because this is great education and awareness for you to know, which is that the health and wellness profession actually has a governing board that has partnered with the National Board of Medical Examiners to proctor a board certification exam. And there are CPT reimbursement codes. So this is something for you to know about the discipline and the profession overall. So this National Board for Health and Wellness Coaching is instrumental in advocating for this coaching profession, and they're focused on other governing boards around providing minimum standards and measures of foundational competencies. They are also instrumental in approving programs that meet these standards, such as ours. So our program is actually duly accredited. And now I'm going to shift from the overall landscape and start honing in on Georgetown's program. So we are actually proud and work diligently to maintain the highest bar of coaching accreditation for our graduates through two governing bodies, the NBHWC that I just mentioned, and the International Coaching Federation, the ICF that Dustin brought up. Therefore, when our program's certificate students are eligible to come through the program and get their certificate, they are eligible to sit for either and or both coaching credential exams. Another thing to be aware of is that our program is one of 5 certificate programs housed within the Institute for Transformational Leadership inside of Georgetown School of Continuing Studies. And what this means is that our program is part of this institute that is leveraging across these different specialties around health and wellness coaching, leadership coaching, facilitation, DEI, and organizational change leadership. So all of that gets woven in and integrated in each of our programs. And so that's something that you can be aware of inside of the learning and when you come away as part of a larger network. So moving into our program specific differentiators and attributes, things that you will want to understand and know about. What you can see here is that this is our Georgetown model of health and wellness coaching. And at the center is the Jesuit value from Georgetown, Cura Personalis. And this is in the context of our coaching, it's really about the care of the whole person, which suggests a focus on the other person's personal growth and development, encompassing mind, body, and spirit. And this value also applies to us as the coach and throughout every aspect of the program. There is a large emphasis on the focus of self, similar to the oxygen mask metaphor. In order to be in service and help others, We begin inside of the classroom and all of the program material by focusing on self and applying on your inner work in order to be able to service others. Unlike traditional education, the learning design arc is based on adult learning frameworks that include a cohort-based process. So the size of our classes range between 14 to 24 students. And it's really an intimate community where you are doing a lot of experiential learning and application and reflection through multiple learning modalities. And I'll explain that more when we go into more detail. This webinar format is not what the experience is inside of the program, just to let you know. We also have mentor coaches who are highly experienced and duly credentialed. And our instructional faculty are also seasoned with a broad depth of experiences and expertises. Something that is unique in our program compared to some others is that you will get both the foundation and the practical skills development to achieve a full certificate. And based on that, that is what creates one of the eligibility requirements to sit for the ICF and NBHWC certification credential exam. And as you go through this process, you have your immediate cohort. And as I mentioned, you are one then inside of the Georgetown coaching and facilitation and all these other programs within ITL. So in addition to all the cohorts that have graduated from our program, you then become a member of over 3,000 graduates from all of the programs within ITL. So wonderful resources and connections. And as Dustin mentioned, we have multiple graduates across these programs who are physicians, PAs, nurses, behavioral psychologists. It's just a wonderful network. The learning approach, when I said that this was really an emphasis, it is different than what I went through in graduate school, lots of postdocs, which is really focused on a multi-pronged learning approach. And here you can see the various elements. The classroom is highly experiential. It's not about an instructor standing up there and you're just taking notes. There are aspects around your individual learning where there's this self-development through one-on-one coaching with pro bono coaching clients, journaling and having own self-reflections. And you actually will also get lots of reflection through work in triads. There are multiple triads throughout the classes where these are groupings of 3, where you're a coach, client, and observer. You bring in your own topics to work on. It's real coaching. So you get free coaching from each other on your topics, and you get feedback on your coaching techniques, as well as developing observation skills to further develop listening in a very different way, in a coaching way. Another modality are actual practicum groups, which these are smaller groups ranging between 4 to 5 students. And there you are assigned one mentor or coach who is named a practicum advisor. And this practicum group and your practicum advisor, you will be going through the process together throughout the whole program. And that is where you will get feedback and guidance with pro bono coaching. Specifically, the practicum is held on the last mornings of each class. And your practicum advisor serves as your go-to person for the overall class. And naturally, there's large group modalities as well, where you are learning across each other's experiences, as well as with the whole faculty. So as you might imagine, this cohort-based program and all these different learning modalities and lots of practice, and experiential exercises means you have a lot of shared learning and you form a community and you stay connected in a different way after the program is done. This is true for so many of us, both professionally and personally. And the objectives that we have for this entire approach, really, you can see here. It's learning how to demonstrate mindfulness, motivational interviewing, facilitating behavior change, in self and in partnership with others. You will also get a lot of practice with one-on-one coaching and be exposed to what group coaching looks like, because sometimes that can be very effective. Through this all, you will develop your own individualized coaching approach based on all the skills and strengths you have, in addition to what you will learn. And you will understand what do next steps look like for how you're going to apply your coaching and how you're going to keep practicing in SafeHaven modalities, as well as perhaps with your patients and other possibilities. And through it all, you will really gain a community of colleagues and mentors and resources through your own journey. So let me explain what the classes look like at a high level. And there is an actual arc design that goes threaded across all the classes. So in addition to having 2 instructors for each of the classes, myself and our associate director, Freddie Brown, will be there with you the entire program in order to thread the learnings across. So these are scaffolded and integrated content and experiences. They are not individual sections that do not connect. So I want to make that very clear. The principles and foundations of each class build upon and expand from the prior. In the first thread, we have the principles of behavior change. This is one of the foundational, as you heard me say earlier, around what is fundamental to coaching. It's understanding behavior change, as well as the actual relationship that you build and rapport and your coaching mindset and presence. All of that is what's covered in the first class. And this entails mindsets and different processes. Then another one of the key elements are the coaching competencies themselves. And these are brought to you between classes 2 and 3, which are skills 1 and 2, just to make that nomenclature fun. Here, what you're focusing on is learning and applying the core coaching competencies as defined by both ICF and the NBHWC. So in the skills 1, you are focusing on the beginning of a coaching arc and engagement on how to establish a coaching engagement, supporting the client to define their vision and areas of focus through active listening and really powerful questions and evoking awareness, for example. And you will continue that in skills 2 and learn how to go deeper. There are frameworks such as going beneath the surface and exploring and helping clients, understand and generate new awareness and explore things that are getting in their way, barriers, and then facilitating the client growth and establishing plans of how to make forward progress using methodologies and mindfulness, motivational interviewing, and self-reflection all along the way. Class 4 then is now at a junction where you have the foundations of the coaching presence and the way of interacting in psychology of behavior change, as well as the core coaching competencies. Now we start to elevate and bring in more advanced frameworks around barriers to change, immunity to change, the actual adult adult ego development, and polarity thinking, things like that. This is an area where you start to focus on yourself again. And as we see this third thread here, these are now around specific subject matter areas. So there are actually inter-session between class webinars. There are 5 of them. And this is one of the areas that we are modifying with the SafeHaven, but they include topics such as nutrition and well-being, as well as stress and well-being, and a few other topic areas to be named shortly. With all of this, then, class 5 is a place where you start to integrate everything that has come before. Here, you are going to start to explore what your individual coaching approach is, potential biases you may have. Also, learn things around your own identity, and you will also start having exposure to group coaching. Now, I had mentioned around experiential and practicum. So as in all of these classes, you will be spending time with a small group that is your practicum group. And there, you are assigned a practicum advisor. And the purpose here is you're applying, you are practicing with clients who are volunteer or pro bono. And this is your opportunity where you are going to apply your coaching skills with these clients and get feedback. And this is where you will have some recordings and get your practice in listening to yourself and self-observations. And so this is really a place where everything comes together and you will be learning, integrating, self-reflecting, and coaching. And you will get feedback from your practicum advisor. As you can see, there are hours that you need to complete in order to meet the requirements for practicum and the overall program certificate, and that is 30 hours. And the last class that we are together, which will be in person, is really where you get to focus on what's next. So this is bringing things together. And this is one other area that we are modifying from our standard program and tweaking a few things. What the intention here is really for you to focus on what and how you will be taking your coaching forward. We call this your coaching practice, as in how you will practice, but I recognize that in the clinical world, a practice means something different. So this class holds the space to really define that and support you. And it will also be where some of our planning committee members likely will come in, and you will hear from experienced clinical providers who have also become coaches so that you can hear from them what is going on. We are still building that panel. There we are. So that's about the what you will be learning. And here are some of the folks who are helping really create this learning journey for you, because this isn't possible without faculty. And so here's a glimpse. It's a really wonderful group of instructors. As I said, they're co-instructors in each class, and I will be there as well as our associate director. And then there are the students. So you might want to know, when are the classes and what does that look like? Here is the schedule. You will have access to this, I believe, on a flyer as well, but the cohort starts in June. And things to understand, class 1 and class 6 are in person on campus in DC, not at Georgetown proper, but in the School of Continuing Studies. And the remaining classes 2 through 5 are virtual. They are still the same format, but they are on a Zoom format rather than in person. These are all required to be attended. It cannot be, because of the scaffolding and the highly experiential design, they really cannot be missed. It will not work. The practicum, as I mentioned, begins in the last day of each class. It's the morning of the last day. And then there are also hours that you will do outside of the classroom. So the time frame is longer. And that is what all of this says. And how to apply. there is a link that you will, I think Carolyn will explain, but to let you know what is important in your application process, along with your resume, there are some essay questions. And this is really important for the application review team to understand what your understanding is, what your motivation is, and provide us a story about you and insights more than a CV. And so examples of those questions are, what activities are you engaged in to foster your development? What's one thing you learned about yourself in the last year? Those are the type of examples. Is there anything you'd like to add, Carolyn or Dustin, around that?
For those of you who are on the call or watching this recording later on, you will receive an email with the application link, as well as this recording. And then we will also have this up on the SafeHaven website as well.
Great. And last item are the other logistics. I'll keep the floor open for you, Carolyn or Dustin.
Thank you, Petra. We have just done a great job of the logistics and the details and the structure of this program, and the cost and kind of what the expectation is for pursuing this certification is up there on the screen. The tuition to do this program through Georgetown is $9,000. And we do have the Medical Society of Virginia does have some need-based scholarships available. So if that is something that you would like to pursue, you can reach out directly to me or Dustin, and we'd be happy to provide you more information about what those need-based scholarships might look like to be able to complete this program. And then we will ask our healthcare professionals who complete this certificate to give back to the profession by providing coaching hours through SafeHaven. And so we will have an agreement written up that says, for a year after completing the certificate or something along those lines, that you will have a certain number of hours a week that you make yourself available as part of the SafeHaven resource offering. Again, we are seeing exponential growth with this program. We are seeing exponential requests for these types of services, and we want to make sure that we're able to grow as that need grows. And we'll be able to provide more detail with what that will look like and how coaches will be compensated for their time as we admit this first cohort into the Georgetown program for this year.
Super. This is a lot of learning for us in the process as well. So now I will stop sharing, and here's the space for the question and answer.
Yes, and we do have a couple great questions that have come in, and please continue to keep those coming. The first question, which we expected, was, Petra, can you speak to requirements around attendance, if there's wiggle room, if there's makeup options, and allow us to get a little bit more in depth with that structure for the program?
Yes. Yeah, we have had many different experiences, and based on that, the attendance, it must be for every class, those 6 classes, because of the scaffolding. There is no such thing as a makeup. There isn't a redo of the work because everything is so experiential in the moment. It's not about materials or slides. And in fact, we've had a few examples where somebody missed the first class and they honestly, they didn't pass, because that was just so foundational, for example. So yes, we have had a medical emergency, but that's you work with, that is different than missing a class. They really are required. We try to flex as much as possible as we can, but that's one area that is there.
Thank you so much. On the other side of the spectrum, looking towards completion of this certificate, are the coaches who complete the certificate with Georgetown, are they required to sit for the additional certification with ICF?
They are not required. When you complete the program, you will be able to, and completion requires attendance of all the classes, submission of 3 recordings, and a self-observation paper, as well as a final recording that passes an assessment process demonstrating all coaching competencies in that recording. That then gives you the certificate from Georgetown, and then you can say you are certified Georgetown Health and Wellness Coach. That is one of the elements that allows you to sit for either of the credentialing exams from those, but it's not required to go on.
Thank you. And so, yes, so receiving the certificate through Georgetown would then allow you to enter within the SafeHaven coaching network and be a resource for the SafeHaven program specifically as well. That was a great question. Petra, can you also go into a little bit more detail for those who have credentialing in mind and really would like to see some additional letters after their name, what that process would entail? They've gotten the certificate through Georgetown, and now they would like to sit for that advanced credentialing with ICF.
Yeah. With ICF, and the requirements do change. So if you see me searching my memory banks, I want to say that in addition to the program certification, it requires a knowledge-based assessment, passing that, and having 50 hours of coaching. So there is additional experience and demonstration of coaching hours beyond the training program, and some additional mentor coaching hours beyond. And the specificities are easy to obtain on the ICF website. And it's something we go through inside of the program itself. But that's my memory at this point.
Thank you.
Yes.
Okay, we'll pause there and see if there's any additional questions from our group.
While you were waiting, one question that I often get that I just realized might be useful to know is, what is the amount of time and effort from the students? I mean, yes, there's time of coming into the classroom. There's also, we have some not medical school grade textbooks, but there are some reference textbooks that are readings to supplement and help in the learning process. These are front loaded in the first 3 classes. The work really then shifts to your work with your clients and doing those recordings and listening to those recordings after the fact and transcribing. So I want to make everybody aware that there is more work than simply sitting in the classroom.
Absolutely, with such a program with the just the gravitas, I think, and just the alumni that you're turning out, we would expect that there would be some homework to do as well. So thank you for that clarification.
Yeah, it's not graded homework, but
that is all the questions that I am seeing here. So if you do have, for those of you who are on with us today, if you do have additional questions, please don't hesitate to reach out to Dustin or myself or to Petra. We will send the recording out, as well as the link, direct link to the application and the link to the page about the coaching certification program on the SafeHaven website. Again, thank you all so much for your time this evening. And Petra, thank you for sharing more details about this program and for partnering with the Medical Society to offer this wonderful service to build out our well-being resources for the healthcare community.
I am delighted at the possibility of you all who are listening really stepping into the space. It's not just needed for others, but it's so self-transformative, and you will have this additional skill set that not only helps you with who you work with, but it does so much with your families. It's just ways of interacting I can't explain.
Thank you again, Petra. Thank you, Dustin, for being here. And thanks to all of our attendees. We look forward to seeing your applications coming in to join our first SafeHaven coaching certification cohort. Good evening.
Thank you all.